Thank you for joining us on Nigeria Tonight. I'm Felicity Eziwike. Our coverage begins in the nation's capital, Abuja, where the federal government has signified plans to establish a national commodity board as a solution to the escalating food inflation in the country. The board will be given the mandate to assess and regulate food prices, as well as maintain a strategic food reserve for stabilizing prices of crucial grains and other food items. Vice President Kashim Shettima made this known at the opening of a two-day high-level strategic meeting on climate change, food systems and resource mobilization at the banquet hall of the State House, Abuja. Other stakeholders praised President Tinubu for this proposed initiative aimed at curbing the hyperinflation in the country.
The short-term strategy entails revitalizing food supply through specific interventions like the distribution of fertilizers and grains to farmers and households to counteract the effects of subsidy removal, fostering collaboration between the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security and the Federal Ministry of Water Resources for efficient farmland irrigation, ensuring year-round food production, and addressing price volatility by establishing a national commodity board. This board will continually assess and regulate food prices, maintaining a strategic food reserve for stabilizing prices of crucial grains and other food items. I wish to emphasize that the government is not unaware of the fears being expressed in some quarters about the plight of farmers, particularly regarding their security while working on their farms. I wish to assure you that we will engage our security architecture to protect the farms and the farmers so that farmers can return to the farmlands without fear of attacks.
Where we have gathered key stakeholders from across Nigeria and from all over the world to commence the resource mobilization conversation for smallholder farmers in Nigeria and Africa, while underpiling the urgency of action required in the face of the current and growing food crisis.
The basis of all of this is integration. Integration is the key to our future and to our progress. And being a former Prime Minister of Niger, it is extremely important for me to reiterate in a very clear manner that there is no other way than going towards a strong regional integration.
We're joined now by political analyst Francis Chilaka to take a look at this latest development. Thank you very much, Francis, for joining us. Is it possible to regulate prices? If yes, how?
Well, it's the question on the lips of all Nigerians. First and foremost, I think that this government or the Nigerian governance in general, they are always too forgetful. We should be asking ourselves questions. This is not the first time we're talking about commodity board. This is not the first time we're talking about regulating the prices of foodstuff. If you remember, I think in the 60s, 70s, even up to the 80s, we had the boards that were in charge of the palm produce. We had the board for cotton. We had for groundnut. We had for grains. But the question is, how did these boards fare? When at that time we had security, we didn't have security challenges like we have today. We had people going to farms. People were not rushing to the urban areas like they are rushing to the urban areas today. So, it's going to be difficult for anybody right now, considering the present Nigerian situation, to talk of price regulation. How are you going to regulate the price? Are you going to, start by saying, okay, the farmers, you're going to give them free fertilizer, you're going to give them, policemen, soldiers to stand guard with them in the farms, you're going to station people to protect the farm products so that once planted, nobody will go to uproot them. So there are issues that the government needs to address first before talking about, setting up any commodity board.
Could you be more specific about the issues? Because, part of trying to regulate the prices, on the flip side, you say the prices are high and it's difficult to regulate it. But that is part of the reasons why this National Commodity Board has come up. So what are the specific issues that they should have put in place before talking about regulating prices?
Well, the first thing the government should do right now is that the government should slow down on import duties. So long as our farmers are not going to the farms, the government should try as much as possible to reduce the import duties on food items imported into the country. Open up the borders, let food items come in. Let us have surplus. It is when you have surplus and alternatives that you begin to talk of price regulation. Two, the government needs to tackle headlong the issue of insecurity, where farmers get killed for going to the farms, where farmers are forced to pay taxes to insurgents, to Boko Haram, to terrorists. So for me, this is, first of all, the basic thing that government needs to do. Thirdly, the government needs to spend money also to build silos where foodstuffs that are bought, that are perishable, are stored. Not just to say you want to create a commodity board or you want to reduce the price of items. What is the purchasing power of an ordinary Nigerian today compared to what it used to be? So these are issues. The dollar, as of today, we hear is about 1,500 plus. So what is the earning capacity of a Nigerian? If you're earning 30,000 naira, what can you get with 30,000 naira in the market? So putting up a board is, first of all, you're going to spend money on infrastructure, setting up these boards. You're going to spend money on research. You're going to spend money on, the market on its own. So these are all costs that government needs to take into consideration and ask themselves, are we doing the right thing? So for me, it is not proper. This is not the time to set up any board. This is the time to create an environment that allows the foodstuffs to be in the market, and then we plan from there.
On the flip side, I'm not speaking for the government, but just speculating aloud, the people on the government side might say, you complain about a situation and we are making efforts to address it. Let's not forget that this is a new administration that is less than a year in power, have made changes that have impacted on the economy. So would it be that there is something about this particular move at this time? I didn't quite get all that was said in the videos that we shared from that initiative, but there was talk about concerns raised on insecurity that farmers had, that you mentioned, that they need to tackle. So they are aware of all of these things. Is something not better than nothing?
What is, before now, I'm sure this, is it the Commodities Exchange Board also is still on? What is their function? Why don't governments look at what they have on ground and to be able to have the political will to drive it, to get it working? We should also be asking questions. The government should ask. Before now, the boards we had, what was their problem? Why did they fold up? Why did they fail the Nigerian people? Don't forget, corruption was there, nepotism was there, and the bureaucracy in terms of paying the farmers. So have these issues been considered? Have they been taken care of? We can't just be people that are reactive. Rather, we should be people that are proactive. I expect this government to be more proactive than being reactive. What the government is doing is being reactive. You remove fuel subsidy. Are these not issues you should have taken care of before looking at the issue of removing fuel subsidy? If the government goes now and fixes price on food items, in other words, the government is going to start subsidizing food items. So I don't understand the logic. I don't understand what is behind it. The government knows the problem. The problem we're having with food issue right now is that, one, the dollar is running a race that the naira is not able to catch. Two, insecurity is a big problem that needs to be addressed. Address these two issues, and you will see that a lot of things will change.
All right, Francis, thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you. You're welcome. Good night.
Good night. The Nigerian Senate has received the request of President Bola Tinubu for the confirmation of the appointment of a chairman and members for the Central Bank of Nigeria Monetary Policy Committee. Tinubu's request was conveyed in a later address to President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, and read at plenary on Wednesday in Abuja. In the later, the President listed CBN Governor Olayemi Kadoso as chairman and 11 others as members. According to the later, the members include CBN Deputy Governors Muhammad Abdullahi, Bala Bello, Usoro, and Philip Ikeazo, as well as Moritala Sabo, who is a director in the Apex Bank. Others are the Director General, Security and Exchange Commission, Lamido Yuguda, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance, Jafia Shehu, Aloysius Uche, Agu Pauline, Mustafa Akinwumi, and Bamidele Amon.
GCON, President of the Senate, Senate Chambers, National Assembly Complex, 3 Arms Zone, Abuja. Constitution of the Monetary Policy Committee for the Central Bank of Nigeria. In accordance with the provisions of Section 12 of the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN Act 2007, I am pleased to present for confirmation by the Senate the appointments of the underlisted 12 persons as chairman and members of Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria. First name, Olayemi Kadoso, CBN Governor, Chairman. Muhammad Sani Abdullahi, CBN Deputy Governor, Member. Bala M. Bello, CBN Deputy Governor, Member. Usoro, CBN Deputy Governor, Member. Philip Ikeazo.
At least 60 members of the Federal House of Representatives are seeking amendments to the 1999 Constitution to transition from the presidential to parliamentary system of government. Led by a lawmaker representing Lagos State under the All Progressive Congress, Wale Raji, the lawmakers identified the need for reducing the cost of government and robust policy debates, among others, as some of the reasons for demanding a return to the parliamentary system. The lawmakers, drawn from different party affiliations, anchored their positions on the need to adopt a parliamentary system at the federal, state, and local government levels. Addressing a press conference at the National Assembly Complex on Wednesday, the spokesman for the sponsors and member representing Kebe Tambuwal constituency, Sokoto State, Abdusamad Dasuki, said that when passed, it would significantly impact the national political landscape. We'll return to stories from the National Assembly shortly, but in the meantime, Nigeria's Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has placed a bounty on criminals living in Abuja. Wike announced the reward of 20 million naira for the capture of any criminal within the FCT. The former governor of Rivers State made this announcement during the presentation of suspects involved in kidnappings, one chance, and other criminal activities by the FCT Police Command in Abuja. Wike emphasized that criminal activities should not be tolerated in Abuja and assured that the police and other security agencies will soon receive additional communication devices and equipment to enhance their intelligence gathering and operational efficiency.
To face these criminals. And let me assure the residents of FCT, by the support of Mr. President, we are fully prepared to take the war to them. We want to assure them to be patient and believe that the time has come. I've always said, every day is for the thief man. The next day is for the owner of the house. They have terrorized us. They were happy, making news that FCT is not safe. I told them, you will die for it. And look at their faces. Who will even drink a cup of water from these people? With the police, you will see a lot of results will be achieved. Once more, thank you very much for this, and may God bless all of you. Now, let me just give you something. You said it's remaining about 2 or 3 persons. Okay, let me put money on their head. So wherever they are, send their men out there. I'll give them 20 million naira. Go and fish them out, wherever they are. Use that money on their head. I want to see them live or dead. As we are going visiting around, His Excellency is equally going visiting around. He's going on patrol. And that has made us keep us on our toes. Your Excellency, the command is very grateful for your assistance, for the success so far achieved, Your Excellency. The police force is very grateful. And with your support, with your assistance, criminality will be stamped out of FCT. We have determined, we have the capacity to withstand them. We have the capacity to equally deal with them, Your Excellency. As you have been supporting us, we just needed more of your support. But these ones, there are even more. Before Friday, you will hear completion. We are now going beyond FCT because they believe that they can come to kidnapping FCT and run to Garawuse, Tafa, that is in Niger, and to go there and hide. Your Excellency, we have gone there. This morning we are going to Lapai, where they are hiding. Your Excellency, we want to read them off.
Thank you for staying with us. Let's stay with security matters. We understand that the Senate has asked the security chiefs to use biometric systems in nabbing criminals, including kidnappers and terrorists. The Senate also stressed the need for collaboration between the security agencies and the Ministry of Interior in tracking criminals electronically. The upper legislative chamber stated this when it met service chiefs and heads of other security agencies on the rising insecurity in the country. The meeting, which was held behind closed doors, started at 12:03 p.m. and ended at 9:30 p.m. local time. To discuss this, we are joined by Inko Tarie Ipalibo, MD, Tarmac Security Limited. Thank you very much for giving us your time.
Thank you for having me.
How does the Senate envision the use of biometric systems assisting in the apprehension of criminals, particularly kidnappers and terrorists? Did you get my question, sir? I think we might have a network issue with Inko. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right. Did you get my question?
No, I didn't.
Okay, I'm asking how is it possible the Senate, or rather, how is the Senate envisioning the use of biometric system assisting in the apprehension of criminals, particularly kidnappers and terrorists, basically?
Well, the recommendation by the Senate for the use of biometrics is laughable because it is not applicable to the generality of Nigeria. Biometric security access essentially has to do with fingerprint recognition, facial recognition, and retina scans. So before you could use biometrics, you would have captured the requisite data in that facility. So you can only use biometrics in facilities where you want to regulate access, strict access. So it cannot be applicable to the entirety of Nigeria.
Yeah, but we have at least a percentage of Nigerians have the national identity number. People have voters' cards. People have other forms of identification. Isn't it possible to collate all of this into a central system that would assist with the security matters like this? Should we be asking rather, if that is if you agree, should we be asking rather how the government can pull these resources into a central location so it can be accessed?
Well, if you are talking about the use of technology, that obviously is possible, it's workable. But when you streamline it to biometrics, that is where we have problem. For if we let go of the word biometrics and we broaden it to technology, then technology can be used to combat crime. With the use of the data that the federal government have collated over the years via the NIN registration and the BVN links and all of that, the NCC, in collaboration with the network service providers, can utilize the phone number. They can track the phone numbers of kidnappers and then also generate coordinates that will lead to the real-time location of those kidnappers. So using the tracking system that will be provided by the network service providers is possible to curb crime.
Well, that doesn't seem to be happening. Should the Assembly be looking more at ensuring that we have this central system, more of advancing technology generally than specifically the biometrics? Or what could be the idea behind the gains of biometric system that's encouraging them to push for that?
Well, if we are looking at having a central system, that is a right step in the right direction. Obviously, all over the world, countries where technology is used to fight crime, they have a central data system. When you get at the point of arrival, your information will be captured. So whatever you do within that territory with your ATM card or with your ID card or whatever, there is a section of it that will always generate previous data that they've captured concerning you. But in Nigeria, first of all, we have power problem. We hardly have 24/7 uninterrupted power supply. So even when data is captured at the various centers, utilizing the data will become a problem when there is no light. So we have our local problem that will not allow technology to thrive. So you want to use technology to fight crime, you must put power, there must be light. And then before you now talk about collating data at various centers and various levels that will be universal, not just peculiar to a particular state. So if somebody commits a crime and relocates to River State, for example, he commits a crime in Plateau State and relocates to River State, there should be a central link of data that will still identify that person irrespective of the state he goes to.
All right, I'm going to ask if you were to advise the Senate on what they should be saying to security agencies in terms of fighting criminals, basically, what would you suggest to them that is doable, practicable in our current reality, including the lack of electricity, adequate electricity, and other issues?
Well, for now, what is doable is simple. When victims have been kidnapped, whatever phone number they are using to communicate with the family of the victim, the security agencies should pick up those phone numbers, work with the NCC, collaborate with the service providers, get real-time tracking. It is happening. We have instances where phone numbers have been tracked, coordinates have been generated, and the suspects have been arrested. Here in Plateau State, we have coordinated such operations successfully. So if we can do it at our level as private security practitioners, I believe that the state security agencies could do more if they really want to fight crime.
Thank you very much for speaking with us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
We'll go on a short break now. The news continues right after. Thank you for staying with us. Let's now tell you that photographs showing the site of the helicopter accident that killed the Chief Executive Officer of Access Holdings, Herbert Wigwe, have been made public by the United States National Transportation Safety Board. Wigwe, his wife, and his son Chizi Wigwe, and former chairman of the Nigerian Exchange Group, Abimbola Ogunbanjo, perished in a tragic Airbus EC-130 helicopter accident at the California-Nevada border. NTSB officials were observed inspecting the debris at the accident site in the publicly released photos following NTSB board member Michael Graham's announcement of his visit to the scene. Graham highlighted the agency's commitment to conducting a comprehensive investigation, mentioning that the team utilized overhead drones to map the wreckage and capture detailed photographs. One of our headline stories tonight, the governor of Bayelsa State, South Nigeria, Doye Diri, has assured residents of the state that he will consolidate on the achievements of his first tenure to deliver his prosperity mantra for all. The governor stated this earlier today during his inauguration for a second term in office as governor of the glory of all lands.
Nigeria, that I will exercise, that I will not allow my personal interests to influence my official conduct or my
To the courts now, where we understand that Deputy Director and head of the Service Delivery Division at the Central Bank of Nigeria, Michael Onyeka Ogbu, has told the High Court in Abuja that the embattled former governor of the CBN, Godwin Emefiele, never directed him to pay the sum of $6,230,000 to some international election observers before the 2023 general election. The senior CBN official also insisted that the transaction was not fraudulent to the best of his knowledge and that the money in dispute was paid to staff in the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. But the former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, while giving evidence in the alleged $6.2 million fraud trial of Emefiele, denied that the government of Muhammadu Buhari or his office had anything to do with the said transaction. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has said the Nigerian government has resumed the payment of subsidies on the premium motor spirit, PMS, otherwise known as petrol. Recall that on May 29, 2023, during his swearing-in speech, President Bola Tinubu announced an end to petrol subsidy, triggering a hike in the prices of goods and services in the country. A few weeks later, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, collapsed the different exchange rate regimes into one, with the value of the naira to the dollar weakening. As of Tuesday, it was 1,499 naira to a dollar at the official window and 1,515 naira to a dollar at the parallel market. Over the weekend, the IMF issued a statement on the conclusion of its executive board's post-financing assessment with Nigeria, and it expressed concerns that the government had capped the prices of fuel at retail stations. The global lender advised the administration of President Tinubu to completely stop the payment of subsidies on petrol to free funds to run the government. To help us get better understanding on this subject matter, we are joined by Temitokwe Kolade, Senior Manager and Lead ESG and Climate Change Services at Anderson. It's good to have you on the news. What factors would you say led to the Nigerian government's decision to resume the payment of subsidies on petrol, contradicting the president's earlier announcement to end subsidy?
Right. If you were to use a common word, would say there are socio-political as well as economic factors. I recall that barely 2 days after that announcement by the current president, the NNPC Limited reviewed the pump price of petrol from 189 naira per liter to 480 naira, and again 570, and currently now over 600 naira per liter. And that's way more than like 300% increase in less than a year. And what that has done to the people is that, lots of hardship, like you mentioned earlier. And back in 2012, when former President Goodluck Jonathan tried to do this, there were lots of rallies here and there, industrial actions, shutdowns and shutdowns, street protests, and it led to death, right? So if there is any reason why it appears that this current government is now backtracking, it's because of the potential issues that are coming up from this. Already we're seeing some protests here and there because people are beginning to feel the hardship here and there. And what the protest could do is bring the country all together to a standstill.
But if we are to believe the IMF that the subsidy has returned, that has not reflected in the prices of goods, has it? Do you believe that he has reinstated petrol subsidies?
To a very large extent, I do believe that. Apparently, when you do a comparison, and because really and truly, what the removal of subsidy should do is that in the long run, whatever price you get in PMS will reflect market dynamics. For instance, you've seen the USD to Naira taking a different turn in the last couple of months and days and weeks, right? But we've not seen that sort of change in the price of oil. Don't forget that this is an imported commodity for us. So, and we import not in Naira. So apparently, for us to have a fixed price, subsidy has returned, and there is no controversy about that.
I mean, you talked about price dynamics. For the ordinary man, I tend to go to NNPC half the time and stay in long queues just to get it for 568. There are places that I see that sell it for 700, 615, and some 600. There is some sort of difference in the prices of petrol. Does that mean that it's not determined by the market dynamics as ordinary Nigerians would think? If that is the case, then if they have reinstalled subsidy, it's not working, it's not helping anyone, is it?
Well, I guess it's helping. Otherwise, it would be worse. If we do a benchmark of the price of PMS across other countries, and we use an exchange rate, for instance, you might find that ordinarily wouldn't be getting a liter for less than 1,000 naira, as against the 700 that appears to be the peak price that we even experiencing at the moment. So I doubt if the NNPC would say otherwise, that some way subsidy has not returned back into the system. As much as there could be price fluctuations here and there from one fuel station to the other, it doesn't still tell us exactly how much we would get this if we were to look at the landing cost and how much we're getting it from wherever we're importing from rather, and how much it would get to the common Nigerian on the streets.
Would you support a full return of fuel subsidy, or you would encourage that the government stick with what people have described as a very bold move, despite the harsh repercussion we're getting, and focus rather on working to manage the crisis that has come? Because that means we're going back to square one.
Apparently, the government cannot backtrack fully to full subsidy payments. The money is not even there to take care of that. I think the unfortunate thing is that it appears that as much as that sounded more like a bold move, it wasn't very calculated at the time, given the fact that we also had the exchange rate being more or less, deregulated, if we could borrow that word as well. And the implication is that doing the two at the same time had much more effect on the people. So what I would think is first deregulation, Now we had battling with the current phase, then we need to deal with the issues such that the pressure on the citizens is not so much, and at the best to begin to see policies and bold steps to be implemented to cushion the effect on every ordinary Nigeria, such that in the long run, we can begin to see our economic situation take better shape. And maybe at some point, really, we can begin to say, okay, there is no subsidy at all. And if you think about it, there appears to be no economy across the world where there is no sort of subsidy or the other. Sometimes it's the health services that are subsidized. Sometimes it's food prices that are subsidized. So it's really a case of what do you choose as Nigeria as your policy, which is about developing an homegrown solution. So for me, it's not so much about whether there is subsidy or not. What do we even make out of the gains from taking away subsidy, and what does the government put the money into?
Indeed. Thank you very much, Temitope, for speaking with us.
Thank you for having me.
Still talking business, the Sub-Saharan Africa International Petroleum Exhibition and Conference returns to Lagos from 13 to 15 February 2024 for its 8th edition. Though hosted by the Petroleum Technology Association of Nigeria, it is held in partnership with the entire Sub-Saharan Africa petroleum industry. News Centre's Perpetua Fasomi Peter was there and filed in this report.
Local content collaborations.
The Sub-Saharan Africa International Petroleum Exhibition and Conference, SIPEC, is a multilateral platform showcasing billions of dollars of opportunities in Sub-Saharan Africa's energy, oil and gas industries.
Today, we gather not only to discuss strategies and share insights, but also to foster collaborations that will drive this acceleration.
Themed, the next steps, accelerating African content. Some of the keynote speakers and panelists at the event interrogated calls for energy transition, making a case for a just, inclusive, equitable, and balanced energy transition.
The agenda for Nigeria and other resource-rich developing economies is that the evolving energy dynamics must be calibrated to ensure energy justice, equity, inclusivity, and sustainability.
Climate change is an existential threat, true. But perhaps for us in Africa, a bigger existential threat is institutional poverty, hunger, disease, and conflicts. We have to use our oil and gas resources to optimize our industrial manufacturing capacity.
Our leaders have become just takers of prescriptions made outside of our continent. The earlier we began to seriously scrutinize problems and solutions that we are given, the better for our continent. We have also been given a mandate to ensure that the Africa Energy Bank becomes operational before the end of the first half of this year.
Speaking on Nigeria's rich oil and gas reserves, which represent 30% and 34% of the African oil and gas reserves, respectively, the CEO of NUPRC, Engineer Gbenga Komolafe, highlighted several measures being taken by the Commission to meet the nation's technical production potential of 2.26 million barrels per day.
Measures to improve transparency in hydrocarbon measurement and accounting, collaborative work program administration with the E&P companies, and close monitoring to ensure that they meet the work program obligations. Acceleration of field development plans through timely approvals and ensuring speedy execution. Production optimization by ensuring that wells are tested periodically and produced at optimal rates. Besides that, we have started monitoring the financial viability of operators in the industry.
SIPEC represents more than 30 national oil companies, international oil companies, governments, and regulators, making it the ideal industry event, offering promising topical debates, exhibitions, informative speaker sessions, and critical insights into Africa's hydrocarbon businesses. In Lagos, for News Central, Perpetua Fasami Peter.
14th of February every year is Valentine's Day, also known as Lovers' Day, meant for promotion of celebration of love for one another, especially married couples. Coincidentally, this year, Valentine's Day is being celebrated alongside Ash Wednesday. In this report, News Central's Chinwe Ugele looks into the symbolic importance of celebrating both events by Christians on the same day.
Ash Wednesday as a day that ushers in the Lenten season, a period of 40 days that reminds Christians of all the sufferings that Jesus Christ had to go through to bring salvation to mankind. Today is also coinciding with Valentine's Day. While Ash Wednesday is not a fixed date as it is determined by Easter Sunday, Valentine's Day has a non-fixed date. In Christendom, Ash Wednesday is a holy day as it ushers in the Lenten season, which is a period of deeper reflection on the journey of Christ to Calvary. Reverend Father Anthony Etunwoke explains the implication of having both events occur in one day.
During this Ash Wednesday and also celebration of love, we should also know that we will die one day. And so whatever you are doing, you should be conscious. Treat your loved ones with care and love.
He also highlights the essence of Ash Wednesday and Valentine's Day.
It's also insightful that these two celebrations are going on together. One, Ash also reminds us of two things. One is repentance. We are celebrating love today too. People should also know that if you have sinned against your friend, your husband, your wife, is an opportunity for you to repent.
For some Christians, like OK Martin's Justice, emphasis should be paid to Ash Wednesday given its importance.
Every day, it's a new day and an opportunity to share love and to show love. So I don't think we have to restrict the day we share kindness or to show kindness to humanity to a particular day in quotes.
They should refrain from things that they feel that it's against God's will. Because what we are all doing in life is to follow the way of the Lord. And when you want to follow the way of the Lord, you have to follow his rules and regulations.
The Ash Wednesday reminds us of what we are, dust. And it's important that we keep that one in focus. What people are doing, what's happening in this country, you wonder whether people know that there is an end. And there's somewhere we are going to go and we are going to be called to answer for our actions.
Because it is a special day for the hospitality business, some eateries and fun centers in Umuahia have decorated and arranged programs for the prospective couples and lovers who may want to spend their time in their centers. In Umuahia for News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
And that's all tonight. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the big stories. 60 lawmakers are seeking a transition to parliamentary system of government. The FCT minister has placed a 20 million naira bounty on criminals to fight insecurity. And we also brought you news that Governor Diri has been sworn in for a second term in office. Would like to hear from you. Please send your eyewitness reports to the number showing now on your screen, or you could follow us on social media. Give us a DM at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Apple TV, and on YouTube. As always, thank you very much for watching and happy Valentine's Day.